Ladies and gentlemen, or honorable guests, and we would like to thank Fashion Summit for inviting me to share this study that we conducted back in April, I think, and then we actually published it together with Uniqlo. Uniqlo is the sponsor of the project. But before I share the results, I would like to give you some background of the reason and motivation of why we want to study the consumer perceptions of sustainable fashion. So a little bit introduction of myself. I am actually the one of the representative of ISO 10,000, ISO 14,000, and greenhouse gases committees for the international standard. So my research is mainly focused on the national standard and also the sustainable operations. And I'm currently in the PolyU, I'm the fashion business discipline leader. Also developed a new MA program in sustainable fashion and innovation. And this one, I think, hopefully will be ready to launch coming year or latest 2024. And I published mainly on the peer-reviewed journals that related to sustainability. One book, and then the photos that it shows that it's actually I'm the co-founder of the new material. So I think that's not the reason why I got the spot to share the research today. But I would like to put sustainability in my startup as well. So this one of the photo is my company got an award from the Federation of Industry of Hong Kong. So it's how we engage the shelter workers, secondary school students to take part to adopt the new technologies for communities.
Is already have an answer in your mind, and but roughly concluding from all my researchers' study of other people's research and my observations, these are the main five reasons that I observed. First is the founder's vision. So we have brands that have the founders that develop materials, develop fashion business model that can always be sustainable. They have good courses at the very beginning. Okay, so there are brands doing that. So founder's vision. Second, legal requirements. Now, more and more markets and government, like EU, they have raised the bar of the recycled materials or upcycled material that in the composition of the textiles. So the legal requirements keep rising. Okay, so this is another reason why we have to go for sustainable operation. Third is marketing. Okay, greenwashing is something that we keep the whole industry alert. Okay, whether we are doing what we're saying. Okay, so what you said is it really what you do? That's the marketing and how you differentiate your sustainable operation from your competitors. Relatively less people talk about is the cost saving and profit margin. Okay, in my research, we found that to go for sustainable operation, you actually save cost and you have more margin because you are more conscious of the waste. So you will be more lean in your production planning. You will try to make a more accurate predictions all along the productions. And finally is the customer expectations. This part drive me to do the study. Okay, so customer expectations, how precise, how important, what were the magnitudes of customer perceptions? That is something that we have no clues, honestly, from the past. So we want to figure it out. So customers nowadays not just want high quality products. So what are they expecting? I think they are expecting high quality products produced by high quality company. So you have to understand there's a basic quality concept. As I said, I'm working on ISO 9000. So quality concept is you fulfill the expectations from customer. Okay, you fulfill it, exceed it, they feel you are good quality. So it's very simple. So what is a good quality company, high quality company? Right now, I think we need to figure it out. So what are the customer expectations for company's quality? So Now, SDG, the 17 SDG, I don't want to repeat in here because I have short time in my part. So these SDGs cover mainly, most of the aspects of sustainable development in the upcoming 20, 30 years. And many governments, okay, pay especially high attentions and efforts to make sure the whole economy, society pushing towards the directions. But whether the company is doing that right now is something that I think we need to work further. Some fashion brand like Nike, they were evaluated by the UN's Global Compact that they only fulfill certain part of the sustainable development goals. Okay. While H&M has a lot, they fulfill a lot. But the question is whether they are the best, they are really the best compared to Nike, or they also actually face a lot of problems, not as good as it projected. So we want to know. So before I move on to the Hong Kong survey, I work with my PhD students, Zhang Fan. Right now he's a professor in Macau University of Science and Technology. And we did a search for 5 famous sustainable brands. And we reviewed how they communicate their sustainable operations to the media, in social media. And we find that among these sustainable brands, 25% of their tweets, okay, right now Twitter is bought by Elon Musk, okay, 25% of tweets is about SDG, okay, not all of them. And the top 5 SDG will be covering like the responsible consumption and productions, the land, lives, healthy lifestyle, and the social welfare, and also the sustainable urban planning, and reduce inequality. Okay, so these are the top 5 SDGs being mentioned by the sustainable fashion brand. Okay, I apologize for the Chinese. Okay, but I can. So, but whether these SDGs are most expected from customers, this is how they communicate to the public. It is what they want to project in terms of the brand image, but whether that's the customer expectations. Okay, so this leads us to the question is, so if we want to do that, we want to know that we have to ask the customer directly. So that's the motivation of why we have to understand Hong Kong, Macau consumer regarding their perceptions of the SDGs. So we ran the survey in 2022 April, and we collected around 1,500 respondents. And by gender, it's slightly more women than men, and the age groups are quite well distributed based on a normal Hong Kong market consumer. And these are by occupation and region, so you can see very diverse. I don't have to cover like every single one in here. It means that it's very diverse in my research, so it won't bias towards certain occupations. And we find that we first ask whether you know the concept of sustainability, and 81% of them said yes, okay? And which is quite good, actually. And do you know about the concept of sustainable development goals? Then the percentage will be much lower, which is 56%. So 56% is good or bad? Okay, the question is, I will show you later whether it's good or bad. Okay, and the respondents with higher education level, with a higher level of awareness of sustainable development and the SDGs. As you can see, the green line, the blue line is about sustainability. The orange line is about SDGs. So people heard or knows about 90% of them with higher educations, and 70% of them knows what is SDGs. Okay, so depends on your target customers. Okay, if you are targeting the high education, high income groups, very likely they will have very specific SDGs understanding and demand, okay? And I compare our result with the another survey Actually, I follow the questions developed by the Yale Center for Business and the Environment. They published the result in 2020. I used the same set of questions and I repeated it in Hong Kong so that we can make some comparisons. So the Hong Kong and Macau customer awareness of SDG is 56.4%, as I mentioned before, compared to the global customer, which is slightly lower than 49. So Hong Kong is actually slightly better than the global average, okay? And awareness of SDGs among Hong Kong customers is similar to the Hong Kong manufacturers. I conduct a similar survey with the collaboration with the Chinese Manufacturer Association, the CMA. And I send surveys to all the manufacturers in Hong Kong among the members. So some of them respond, some of them they don't. So, we find that, okay, it's quite similar. Okay, so the manufacturers, the senior management, roughly also 57% of them, they knows what is sustainability, okay? So what are the results? So we asked them what are the most important sustainable development goals among the Hong Kong and Macau customer. They find that affordable and clean energy is the most important. So whether you use clean energy in your productions, whether you can highlight it in your production, you adopted certain kinds of clean energies. And the second one is clean water and sanitation. So they don't want the fashion production pollute the water, pollute the rivers in the production process. You have to make it very clean, recycle the water. Third is the good health and well-being. It's under the COVID pandemic, we are very conscious with the health, whether your clothes have certain anti-COVID functions or is maybe a good protections. So these are concerns from the customer. And no poverty, okay? So they think that fashion industry, fashion brands are responsible to avoid any sweatshop issues. Okay, so they have to make sure the manufacturer suppliers are doing a good job to protect the workers. The fifth one is the climate action. So I noticed that some brands, some manufacturers, they would like to focus on the 1.5 degrees campaign, and then I think that's one of the response towards these SDG goals, and I think that's very good. Initiative when we know that it's one of the top 5 SDGs that Hong Kong consumers care about. So I compare the Hong Kong and Macau with the global customers, and you can find that the top 5 in Hong Kong is not the same as the top 5 from the global. So the global, the top 5 in Hong Kong, only the third one, the good health and well-being, is also ranked quite high among the global customer. So this is one important comparison. And if we rank the global customer from 1 to 5, that's what they care. The global customer care about education, they care about good health and well-being, life on land, responsible consumption and productions, and affordable and clean energy. Okay, so from that comparison, we can tell that seems clean energy and good health and well-beings are 2 goals that share across the Hong Kong and the global customer. So in other words, if you have limited resources to go for sustainable development and operations, these are the 2 goals that you should work on first and then communicate with your target customers. That will give you the most, to maximize the impact, because we said that's the customer expectations, right? So you fulfill customer expectation, you have to do something that they are expecting. So these are the expectations. Also compare with the Hong Kong manufacturer and the Hong Kong customer. And you can also see that there's some discrepancies, but well, at least 3 goals are shared among them. So the first one, the third one, and the climate actions. So the Hong Kong manufacturers, they have a slightly closer understanding, okay, from their perceptions. slightly closer compared to global customers. Okay. And the consumer attitudes towards the sustainable fashion, as you can see, over 70% of the respondents believe that the sustainable fashion is a good idea and have positive attitude. So it's quite strong among the somewhat degree to strongly agree. And however, the proportion of the respondents who like sustainable fashion product is relatively low, only 60%. So have to be fashion, have to look good first. It feels good first, and then they will consider whether it's sustainable. We also study, we put in a very interesting question that many brands, they don't want to be labeled as the fast fashions, including our sponsor. So, but we still ask the customer whether they think that these two concepts are how they think about it. So, so although we find it's quite different, sustainable fashion and fast fashion, okay? Sustainable fashion definitely have more supportive view, while the fast fashion much less, okay? But the two comparison do not significantly different. So there's not a significant relationships that, well, you are fast fashion and you are bad. So at least in Hong Kong customer, you are labeled as fast fashion. It does not equal to you are not sustainable, at least not that from our data. Although you can see some correlation, but not that strong, okay? And this question will be more informational to most of you. We asked the customer how much you want to pay more if we say that this is a sustainable fashion, okay? And based on different actions, for example, you use sustainable materials, and you do not emit any greenhouse gases, you protect the labor rights and respect with the diversity and inclusions, okay? These are hot topics among sustainability. And we can look at the median premiums actually from 10 to 20%. So sustainable material is something that they are more willing compared to the other initiative. Okay. So from 10 to 20%, depends on, so as you can see the differences. So customer are expecting different things. They have a values, they have a price tag in their mind. So whether it's worthy to pay more. And how much they want to purchase the carbon neutral. So it's a big term responding to the climate actions. Carbon neutral products, how much, whether they want to buy something with carbon neutral products. The response is quite good. It's still, majority of them are somewhat agree to strongly agree. But of course, I hope one day the longest bar will be here. And it will be really meaningful to our world. And this is the last, I think, close to the last line. Okay, consumer trust. So greenwashing is a big issue. So what you said is not what you're doing. You create a distrust of the brand. So the larger discrepancies, the more damage, the more damage you've done to your customer trust to your brand. And we find that trust is a very high connections with how willing the customer will buy the carbon neutral products. So if you make carbon neutral products, but your customer don't trust you at the beginning, they won't pay the premium. So therefore, we find with that data, we can conclude that. So you have to develop the trust first. You make sure what you said and what you did, your customer trusts you have actually do it. Is you are not doing greenwashing, you are doing a real job. Then they are willing to pay the premium. So in other words, how to develop the trust. That will be another talk, another story, another research. But trust is so important, and I find that there's no significant difference in consumer and trust across age, income, and education level. The only difference is the female customers are more distrustful compared to the men, so it's hard to gain their trust. So when I tell my wife I'm giving a talk in here, SITA, for the fashion industry, she may not believe. She thought I'm going to somewhere to play. All right, so you give the talk? No way. Okay, so consumer from the female consumer, woman consumer, you need to spend more resources to develop the trust. In other words, it's much easier to damage, okay, if you have done something wrong or not as what you said. So for fashion brand focus on the women's wear, then you need to work on this further. So the key takeaway is we focus on SDG that customer care more about. So this is my recommendations based on my comparisons of the US data and Hong Kong and Macau data. And consumers are ready to pay more. They're ready, but only towards what they really care. Okay, so you are not doing something very generic. You have to be specific, understand what they care about. And trust is the key factor to improve your return on investment. So we go for sustainability, definitely you have to invest. You have to buy more expensive recycle, upcycle materials. You have to improve your equipment. So these investment, when you can actually gain back from the premium, well, trust is the key. So you have to do that. And don't solve everything in one go. You solve one small problem at a time with a very clear focus of one SDG. So my other research find that if you put many different things in one social media post, so it's comparatively hard for the consumer to get the focus. So solve one small thing at a time, but very focused. It may be more useful. All right. So this is the key points that I would like to share. Thank you so much.